understand that I learned a secret is that, and this is not today's secret, but the secret was always be able to handle twice your client workload. They say there's a dearth of common sense and rationality in today's world. And to that being said, it would make sense to agree to that. And this is what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Self-Employed Success Secrets Monday edition with me, your host, Marcus. On today's episode, we're going to talk about how rationality is common sense and how that rationality is going to help you to expand your business, make more money, and just have a better life because the things you're doing are making sense, okay? So simply put, today's secret is common sense is simply rationality. And rationality means 2 + 2 = 4, that whatever I'm doing, it makes sense. Okay. For example, if you're in your self-employed, one thing I learned doing bookkeeping is that the more in-person networking events I went to and just talked, the more clients I would get. Obviously, that's rational. If I keep going to these events, you're going to keep getting interest and then just go from there. However, the problem is that, I could be greedy, make a whole bunch of money at the beginning, but then I can't handle everything on the back end. I end up pissing off a lot of people. So I had to be rational. I'd rather grow a little bit at a time than grow a whole bunch at once. That's a very rational thing to do, like a tree. Okay, and a good place to see rationality is in the natural world, okay? Like you look at a river, you look at the tree grows a little bit at a time. A river doesn't have all the water coming, it's just always moving forward, okay? And that's a really important point because a lot of people want to rush the process of whatever success or making money. It's just that you got to understand that I learned a secret is that, and this is not today's secret, but the secret was always be able to handle twice your client. And you don't want to go overboard. And so that's just one example of being rational. And the problem being solved in this video is that you're going to avoid potentially catastrophic problems if you attempt rationality in what you're doing. It was Warren Buffett's business partner, Charlie Munger. He said rationality leads to success. Doing things that make sense lead to success, okay? And the Bible puts it this way: do all things decently and in order, okay? 1 + 2 + 3, that's rational, okay? Like, think of the alphabet. A lot of people want to go to Z, successful business, lots of money. But A is creating the idea for your company. B is creating the LLC for it. C is getting clients. D is doing what you said you were going to do. E is calculating everything that needs to be done to reach F. It's just like you got to do things in order. People want to get to N or P and not do D. So that's what I'm saying in terms of the rationality, okay? A lot of us are emotional, okay? Like, for example, a good example of being irrational is just that, like, why would you charge people a whole bunch of money? You're giving them a little bit of stuff. That's irrational, and people are going to leave. Okay, if you're going to charge a high price, understand that you got to be given something that's extraordinary that you cannot find anywhere. That's rare. Like a Ferrari. Good example is a Ferrari. Okay, it costs an exorbitant amount of money. However, it offers an extraordinary, sublime experience. And that's what causes the need for it costing so much money. And also, too, stay tuned for the end for a surprise. But just know that common sense, rationality is going to help you in all areas of your life. Like, it's common sense to make your life, to spend more time thinking about yourself. Thinking about others than yourself, because all of our lives are stitched together. And we talked about this before on previous episodes, is that we're all kind of interdigitating together. And so it makes sense to spend a lot of time on what other people need and want versus what you need and want, because you're part of that fabric too. And there's a million examples of how we can apply common sense more, but it needs to happen because it provides the reason why this matters is because it provides a very clear path to getting the life you want, just being rational. Okay, it's rational if you're an architectural firm and every month you're learning more and more about architecture, you're going to slowly become one of the best at what you do. Just that slow crawl. Like I said, I'm on a 40-day journey. After today, it'll be day 8. Okay, I'm 1/5 of the way there. It's just you're crawling towards things. That's how, because life is cut into little units, little cake bites. Okay, you can't do everything today, but you can do something today. That's being rational. You can do a little bit towards your goal. You can't do really a ton, but if you do a little bit each day, stacking those days, as we talked about in previous videos, that you'll get to where you're trying to go. But rationality is incredibly, incredibly important. I made a video talking about love, let love and logic lead. Logic is rationality. This video is just about logic, okay? Being rational, okay? Doing things that make sense. 2 + 2 = 4, okay? A lot of businesses that are really big, they got that way by slowly growing over time. There's not many businesses that became that way overnight. Some did, back in the dot-com bubble in the 2000s, and they went, as soon as this with the same speed they went up, they went down. So you want to build something of substance, little by little. Think of nature, a tree, okay? Look about how consistent the moon and the stars. I'm not into astrology and stuff like that, but it's just like, look at the consistency, look at the patterns. Look at how solid a mountain is. Like, you want your business to be solid, to be consistent. The signs are all around us. Okay, but common sense will help you, and it's helped me. Helps you to price. If someone's like, oh, I don't want to pay that, and you explain to them, hey, this is something that you can't really find or this is what it is, and you give them pieces of paper and what other people are charging, like, oh, okay. Rationality works. Being irrational is what leads to a lot of business failure, because a lot of people go off what they feel like. If you're like, okay, I don't feel like working today, or I just feel like being lazy, laziness is irrational if you're thinking about it, because everyone has to do things for other people to live their lives. And when you're lazy, it kind of really destroys that. And I remember I said before, a lot of businesses die because of lack of knowledge and laziness, okay? So just thinking about today, how are you being irrational? Worries are rational, even though everyone worries. Never taking action is irrational too, because your life is so brief. But if you take time to think, remember, there's so many ways to craft a rationality into what you're doing. Like, it's rational to start a business when you're younger because you have less risk. Like, it just makes sense. And all rationality means it makes sense. So common sense just doesn't make sense. And they say common sense is not so common because emotions and empiricism are opposites. And empiricism is just going off of evidence. It's going off of, okay, we live in Southern California. It may be a good idea to get solar panels here. It's not rational to get solar panels in, Madison, Wisconsin, because it's probably not as sunny as it is in Southern California. Just do things that make sense. Your business is just starting. It doesn't make sense to go buy an office, to go buy a company car. It doesn't make sense right now. Okay, but if we can control our emotions and be rational and do things that just make sense, your life will be much, much better than what it is, okay? It's irrational to just go through people, go through employees, in a spendthrift way, in a callous way. So hopefully you got something of value from this video, but the main point being is that success comes from being rational. Okay, doing things that make sense consistently. Consistency makes sense. Honesty makes sense. Okay, anything that's long-term is going to be long-term makes more sense than what's going to help in the short term, okay? And now on to today's surprise. Today's surprise on the topic of common sense is, if you fill your head with common sense, the filling of your purse will take care of itself, okay? Be rational. Be logical in how you think. All right, if you have a client and they leave, or you have a client that wants to work, that's super effusive about working with you, just calm down. Understand that they're not going to probably keep that enthusiasm. And understand that, every relationship starts out pretty perfect, but over time they get sullied. And understand that they don't want to be with you long term. Almost every company, think about yourself. It's rational that a lot of people think just like you in some ways. If you don't want to give a subscription to your favorite restaurant, you just want to go on a one-at-a-time. That's how a lot of people think too, unless it's that amazing. So that's just what I've learned, and it's not comprehensive. There's obviously a lot of stuff that is not being talked about. Is there a place for emotion? Yeah, but a lot of times there isn't. So lastly, as always, unsuccessful people make decisions based on their current situations, but successful people, you hopefully make decisions based on where you want to be. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.